Small step for man, giant leap for mankind.
Let's go.
I'm back again. We're at the moment, I have the computer set up in the kitchen because I don't have any other place to put it because I don't have a desk. And this is just the island in the kitchen. And the living room is literally right there. And the kids are playing video games. So I'm telling them to shut it up. But I don't know what's going to work. So, all the insanity. All the fucking insanity. I wanted to have a discussion tonight, and I literally was waiting. I had to, as soon as I got to England, I ended up having to send my big computer in to a computer shop for repairs and to get it sorted out because we were having issues. So it just got back this afternoon, and I was been desperately waiting because I just want to talk to everyone. There's so much going on right now. So much going on.
Oh, yes. Yes.
People need to really step back and take a deep breath. That doesn't mean ignore the shit that's going on, because whatever the hell is going on is fucking huge. But I'm watching so many people. I mean, it's kind of like just exponentially blown through the roof. And we were talking about it just, like 2 months ago, people getting really pulled into these narratives, and you can see people really emotionally feeding into the craziness. And now it's like 1,000 times worse. And I'm literally seeing people lose their shit all over the place. So there's major shit going down. It's not even a question. Whether it's the coronavirus or not, I actually highly doubt that it's the coronavirus that's happening. And I personally think that that's pretty much an excuse. But there's some serious shit going on. And watching the way the people are reacting, watching the way the governments are reacting, as I've been talking about for the last year, it's time to be prepared. And that's one of the reasons why I've been saying for well over a year now that people need to be prepared and start thinking about, sorry, but to use the word, but start thinking about prepping. If you did your homework, you're all okay. If you didn't do your homework right now, you're going to have some problems finding toilet paper, a bar of soap. Flour, apparently where I live, you can't buy a bag of flour for love nor money. The panic buying is insane. And this is the one thing I keep saying, and I've said this privately to lots of people in messages over the last few weeks. It's not about being afraid of coronavirus or COVID-19. Nothing to do with, let's just put that off to the side completely. Don't even worry about that. It's about being prepared to deal with the public's reaction, the government reactions. Because we can control ourselves, we can know what's going on or figure out shit that's going on in the background, but we can't control the people around us. We can't control how the public reacts, i.e., if you ran out of toilet paper this week, you were shit out of luck, no pun intended, because there is no roll of toilet paper to be found pretty much in any country of the world, it seems, which is completely crazy. Completely crazy. So these are the kinds of things that are going on. And if you're not, like I said, it's not about the virus. It's about the public reactions. It is very obvious to me. It's very obvious to me that there's a lot more going on than the media is talking about than the governments are talking about, and that it's not about a pandemic. Too many things that are being affected that have nothing to do with pandemic. That too many things, and I just got some private messages in today. I just had some private messages come in today. One of them was talking about international shipping. And the information came directly from a person who is directly involved in major shipping. All the ships that are on the sea right now are empty. They're not. There's no trade. There is no trade going on between countries. And that doesn't mean just ships going from China out. It means like there is no trade. All the ships that are on the seas right now are empty. And basically they're sailing because you can't put all the boats cannot be sitting in port at the same time. A, there's not enough room. B, it's too expensive. And they're basically, the ships are just out there right now, apparently checking out new trade routes, new ports, which is very, very interesting. A lot of little bits and pieces are coming forward that make it very, very clear that this, whatever this is not about a virus. There's far more going on. Now, one of the things, I mean, if you've been watching the financial stuff, even slightly in the last week and a half, watching the stock markets tank, et cetera, just about 6 weeks ago, we were all talking about, oh, isn't that funny how Bezos went out and sold a whole shit ton of Amazon stock? And there was a few other high up people, CEO type people, who sold out a shit ton of their company's stock in February and in January. And that just so happens that in the second week of March, the stock market almost completely crashes. That's not coincidental. That means that they knew, they had some kind of insider information that told them, you better get your money out, get the stock, sell it off now. 1929 all over again, where the people in the know pulled their money out. And then when everything crashes, they go back in and rebuy up all the stocks at pennies on the dollar. That's exactly what happened in 1929. That's why none of the big boys were actually affected by the stock market crash back then.
Hey, Danny, did you see? Here, I'll put my video.
I can't. There's someone talking behind you. I can't hear anything, Dawn.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of in a public place.
Okay, because I'm sorry, I can't hear you, love.
Let me turn it up.
It's
all
not
right,
that. It's all the other voices are coming through. Like all we can hear is everyone else talking.
All right.
Sorry, Dawn will have to try and maybe zip back in afterwards when there's not people on either side of her talking louder than she is. I was just going to say something. Now I completely forgot what I was just going to say. Okay, well, we'll go on from there. So I want to talk tonight. I'm not going to get into, I am not, because I absolutely refuse to play this game of the alt media, he said, she said, fake news. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it fake news bullshit that's going on right now. I'm not going to get into what it is. I'm not going to start talking about the ridiculousness of the 5G shit that everyone's throwing in, and how this is being caused by 5G and coronavirus and it's fucking bullshit. And I wish people could start thinking more rationally. I'm not going to get into that tonight. I want to talk about, number one, being prepared, seeing what's on, seeing all the shit that's playing out right now, and taking a few moments to talk about, like I said, last minute preparation shopping, if you want to call it that. Talk about some of the other stuff that's going on and what to do about it. If you've hit a store, so as you guys all know, we just arrived in England. We're all here in England. First weekend, went out to the shops. Everything was fully stocked with the exception of bar soap. And I howled laughing. It was in this big Walmart type store. It's called Asda here. And there's this shelf that's like, 12 feet long and 10 foot high, completely empty of bar soap. And I was with Gail at the time. We had a good giggle, like going, did people not wash their hands before this? Like, what were they using to wash their hands before this? That, like, all the bar soap was gone. All the liquid hand soap was there, but all the bar soap was gone. And then went back to the store maybe about 4 or 5 days later. So let's say 4 or 5 days ago. And then there's no toilet paper. There's no bar soap. And I'd gone to a couple of shops. I finally found one shop that had a little bit of crappy toilet paper, I will say. And bought myself a bit of toilet paper to have in stock. But I mean, again, like 8 rolls, just to make sure. Went out shopping yesterday. Went out shopping yesterday. No, sorry. No, that was this morning. My God, see, that's like how fucked up time is right now. No, it was actually this morning. Went out shopping this morning. Thought we'd get up early and get out to the shops early enough before other people got there, right? Gonna get there before the crowds hit. Bedlam. Mass bedlam. The mall we went to had like a big Asda store on one side, and it had a bunch of other larger stores, not strip mall stores, like larger stores, and the one that was like a bargain grocery store. So I thought I'd go in there first. Stripped bare. Lineups were, I don't know, 10 people deep. Like we must have stood in the lineup for 20 minutes just to pay. And then we went to Asda. And same thing. There was no flour. There were no eggs. There was no toilet paper, of course, and no bar soap, of course. But it was just crazy. Crazy. And the parking lot was packed at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. The park was not a parking spot. It was like people where you're doing that driving around. It was like 2 days before Christmas parking, where you drive around and hope someone leaves so you can steal their parking spot. It was crazy.
Hey, Danny, yeah, could I interrupt just for a moment? Dawn texted me and she said what she wanted to tell you, and it's true. It's part of the larger picture, but I'll read what she said. What I was trying to say is that the 401k markets has lost big and people's nest eggs are gone again, just like in 2008. Yep. And yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah. That's the bigger picture financial, but
yeah. And that's just it. Like we're talking about the losses here. This is what I was saying. The big boys didn't lose. Like none of the big boys lost anything because they all knew what was coming. They all knew what was going to happen. It's all the little people who lose. It's all the people who've got stuff tied up in the stock markets, like you say, your 401ks. People who've got, through no choice of their own, have got money tied into those bonds in investment type pieces, tools. They fucking lost, which is criminal. But this is what keeps happening. Like that was exactly, it was 2008 all over again. And they're trying to brush it off right now. Like they really, really are trying to kind of brush off the magnitude. But if anyone remembers 2008, they wouldn't even admit to the depth of the calamity of what happened in the market until almost 6 weeks after it happened, before they started saying, oh yeah, we're kind of in a recession. Maybe it might lead to, and everyone else is like, really. But they denied it, outright denied it for weeks. And they're going to do the same thing this time. They're going to deny all this shit. What happened? Oh no. And they'll make excuses. What was that, Maury?
I was going to say, count on it, Danny. This one will be bigger than 2008.
Oh yeah.
Quite a bit. This is worldwide, not just the United States. I mean, it's happening in every country at the same time, as opposed to a domino effect like it was in 2008, and it's on a grander scale. So just keep that in mind. There's more to come. That's the
I think it might be bigger than 9/11.
Just the way that they're fucking traumatizing you, repeating.
Well,
It
this
bigger
is the
than
whole thing.
9/11, Blair. It's different, but it's bigger.
It is.
Different, but
And
it's
this is the whole
way
thing that I
bigger.
want to talk about, right? Because we are seeing the reactions. We are seeing across the globe reactions, government reactions. We're watching borders pretty much, if not officially being closed, they're pretty much, you might as well call them closed. We're watching unbelievable reactions by governments, by in society, etc. Maury, can you mute, darling? Your thing keeps muting itself on and off. This has never been seen before. This has never been seen before. When we talk about these kind of closures, when we talk about things like the NBA closing down its season, Netflix is closed. All the shows that were coming out on Netflix, like Stranger Things, etc., that were supposed to come out in April, I think it was, not happening now. They've closed everything down. The studios that do TV shows that were on like a kind of a midwinter break, they're all closed down. They've all made announcements. We were not coming back because of coronavirus. This has never happened before. This has never happened before, and it is across the globe. This is, we're watching how all these various governments are reacting, and some obviously are a lot more reactionary than others. So we see what happened in Italy, but Italy is almost kind of leading the pack, because how everything started in Italy is now flowing out across Europe. For example, the closures of schools, and next thing you know, schools are closing in Ireland. Schools are closing all over the place. These things are now spreading out. Yes, Earl.
The music industry will lose $8 billion this year because of the virus.
Canceled concerts. All the concerts,
Concerts canceled. Yeah. Yep.
Yep, exactly. This is the thing. I want to put this into perspective. The amount of money being lost right now is beyond astronomical. And I'm not talking about stock markets. I'm talking about tourism, international travel, even local and national travel. Countries are literally being bankrupted right now. I've got reports from someone who's in Nepal talking about the fact that because they've closed down all the climbing, they've closed the borders to tourism. Nepal's only source of income is tourism. They're like, that's it, wiped out. Malaysia, I was talking to Amina like in the last or second last week of February, had already lost something ridiculous like $50 million in tourism in like a week and a half, because everything is closed down. International travel is stopping. This is going to affect everyone. It's not just cruise lines. It's going to be the airlines. It's going to be the hotel chains. There is nothing going on. And the trickle-down effect of these businesses losing that much money all at once into the local economies is unbelievable. We know that shipping isn't going. We know that shipping isn't moving. Even before I got this heads up today, I'd already talked about the fact that shipping is not moving. There's no trade going on. So that it also has that trickle-down effect when all of a sudden these businesses will start going out of business unless something is done. These businesses can't, and not just businesses, some of these small countries, like I said. Malta is completely closed down. They have made something Anyone coming into the country must be tested. Anyone who crosses between Malta and Gozo and wants to get on the ferry has to be tested first. If you come into the country, you stand a chance because they're not testing. There's no such thing. Let's back up here. There is no such thing as a COVID-19 test. Hasn't been invented yet. We have multiple people who've come forward to say there is no actual test for this virus. Has not been invented yet. All they're doing is taking your temperature and checking you for symptoms. I.e., if you have a cough and it's the slightest temperature, you are quarantined. If you're coming to Gozo and if you're a holiday person, you booked yourself a week's vacation and they snab you saying, no, you have a fever, you've got COVID-19, you go to your hotel, you stay there, you're not allowed to leave for 2 weeks, 14 days quarantine. No going out. The entire country is shut down. Restaurants are only open for takeout, most of them. Most of the hotels are closing down. All the schools are closed. Most businesses have closed. Small little country.
Quick question on
It
that.
really
Danny.
relies on fucking tourism.
Quick question on that specific thing, Danny.
Yeah.
How many days before this all fell down in Malta did you depart?
Days.
I know that. How many?
Days.
About 5 at the most?
About
maybe
5.
6?
About 5. If we had left, you guys will remember we had a show back, and I think it was either the last week of January or the first week of February, and I was talking about going to the UK, and someone asked me, when are you planning to be there? And I said, well, planning, we're working as fast as we can, but I know that we need to be there by March 1st, by the first week of March. Like that was my gut, was you need
I
to be
remember
out of
you saying
Malta
that.
first week of March.
You said that in one of your Zoom chats too.
Yep.
You recounted that story.
Yep. Nick went through Italy, drove through Sicily, and then the ferry from Sicily to northern Italy, then drove through northern Italy into France, and then up France over to the Channel to England.
Man's a saint.
3 days. 3 days after he arrived, all the borders were closed. Everything was in complete lockdown in Italy. 3 days later, he would have been stuck somewhere in Italy or not able to leave Malta.
Yep.
Because the only way to leave Malta is a ferry to Italy. So,
Yep.
and those are all closed down. There are no ferries running to Italy right now.
There's an ancillary question on that one. How would you rather be living in Malta right now or not?
No.
It's rhetorical. It's rhetorical. That's all.
Yeah, that's a silly question. It's a very, very silly question. No,
Well,
I'm
I like
quite
to
happy to be
lighthearted.
here.
Even in the face of anything, I like to have a little humor going on.
Oh, of course. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But semi-serious humor. Otherwise, it's just silliness.
Oh, I tell you, number one, I couldn't have prepped out as much as I have done for the money I've spent here compared to what I would have spent in Malta. England is less than half the price of Malta across the board in everything. So it would have cost a bloody fortune and we would have had half as much as we have now. So I want people to remember this. First of all, is the number one thing is there is no test for this COVID-19. So when they tell you that they're testing you, or they tell you that someone in your neighborhood, the kid in your school, someone at your workplace, etc., has tested positive for COVID-19, it's bullshit because there is no test for it. It's under development, but right now there is no test for it. So they can't test you. All they can do is test you for coronavirus. And what's coronavirus? Coronavirus is a cold. It is a cold. That's what it is. COVID-19 is a subsection of that, if you will. So basically, if you have a cold, they can quarantine you. They can the whole bit. It's insane. It is insane. And we've never seen this in the world before. Like we have never, not even after 9/11, did we see governments acting the way they're acting right now.
Danny,
Yeah.
there There is actually a test, but it's a bullshit test. So some people might hear, yeah.
Yeah. Like the false
PCR.
positives are in 83% are false positives.
Well, it's called a PCR, which is a polymerase chain reaction test, and it tests for nucleotides in DNA.
Yeah.
And it tests for 100 of them, and your average virus has 30,000 of them.
Exactly.
And it's those nucleotides are common to loads of viruses. Anyone who's had a flu shot is going to have that chain of nucleotides.
They're going to come up with a false positive, and that's what I heard. Was that from one of the medical personnel people, a guy out of the University of Toronto, I think, saying that the false positives are upwards of 83%.
Yeah, the only reason I'm bringing it up is because people might come back to people in this room and say, actually, there is a test. It's the PCR test, but it's fucking bullshit.
It's bullshit. And this is the thing. It tests for, like you say, those 100 strain type things, if you will. It tells you nothing. And the most important factor is exactly what you said. Anyone who's had the flu shot will have those strains in them, and therefore will test positive, whether you're sick or not. So this is the crazy shit. So I've been talking to people and saying, I mean, it's all fine and dandy. We all know that I've been posting just a ridiculous amount of memes on my wall about toilet paper because it is the funniest thing on the face of the planet, in my opinion. The fact that people are buying toilet paper. I don't know if they're making themselves new mattresses out of this stuff. I can't fathom why, but toilet paper. Yeah, I just can't. I'm sorry. Like that still blows my mind. Like and it's so funny because every cashier I've spoken to, every person working in shops are all doing the same thing, going, "We don't understand. Like we can't comprehend this."
I seen a post from someone say, going, does anyone know how to make toilet paper out of cauliflower? I seen a post like that. I'm like, I can't believe what I'm reading right now. It's like,
well, let's address this. Let's address this one point. This one point. What do you do if you can't get toilet paper? Well, my friends, toilet paper is a new invention. It's actually relatively new.
Wash, blah, blah.
But it doesn't even have to be that difficult, right? It doesn't even have to be that difficult. You get, hold on, I'll make my point clear. You get a water bottle. With a sports top. It's called Instant Bidet. You wash your hiney, you pat yourself dry, you drop the linen, whatever, the cut up piece of t-shirt or whatever, into a laundry basket, and off you go. Anyone who's lived in Africa or Southeast Asia knows this trick, because that's about your only way of getting yourself clean when you've been to the toilet if you're living in the outback of fucking Thailand, right? You don't need fucking toilet paper. Like, of all the things for people to go mental and go, oh my God, panic, I must have toilet paper? I can kind of understand bar of soap. I can kind of understand the bars of soap. I can understand things like flour or eggs. I can understand that. But toilet paper? Really? Really? So yeah, everyone go out tomorrow, buy yourself a bottle of water with a squirt lid. And, you know, you just keep it in the bathroom, fill it up, rinse off, and away you go. And you know what? I hate to tell you this. If you get used to doing that, even when you do have toilet paper, you'll still do this because it feels way cleaner. Just saying. So I want to talk about what are the things that we should be prepared for. If you are in a country like Malta that has very limited water supplies, as in they have no fresh water anywhere in the country, I would obviously want to go and make a choice of prepping and putting in water, even if it's just tap water in bottles to use to bathe in, etc. But let's talk about the basics and let's talk about health. Let's pretend this pandemic is real. It is actually this horrifyingly deadly virus that's swooping around the planet. It's not, but we'll pretend. What are some of the things? Well, a few things. So, we talk about this all the time. Cell salts. Very, very inexpensive. You can order them online, and if you're in Canada or the States, you can get them like almost next day from someone like Amazon. And if not, you can find places to buy them. In Europe, cell salts are quite easy to purchase at any of the health food type shops that sell homeopathics. Okay, this is the 12-in-1 combo. I'm feeding these to everyone in my family. So there's one. Number two, this is my little my homeopathic travel kit. I'm like, isn't that cute? Isn't that so sweet? Little tiny one that goes in my pocket. Homeopathics, and I'll ask you to jump in here in a second to talk about this. If you did not see it, I put a post out last week that was an article out of India talking about homeopathic treatments for coronavirus. And in India, they are having very, very good success rate. India is very big on homeopathy and Ayurvedic medicine. So they don't rely on Western medicine the way we do in the West. They have certain recommendations. One of them is arsenicum. And I think arsenicum is going to be one of the most important ones because of the description. I'll get Anne to talk about it in a second, but the fear of the virus, I think, is taking out more people than the virus itself. People are becoming so emotionally worked up and afraid, even if it's not fear of the virus itself, but the fear of what the hell is going on, that they're literally getting sick. They're bringing that on. And that is one of the proving points of arsenicum, is that
Danny,
bringing it onto yourself.
Danny, on that very point that you just made, I'm willing to offer this. It's a mind virus as well as a physical virus. And that mind virus is probably more deadly than the physical virus. I don't know that for sure, but it's at least equal. And that's exactly what you're talking about. But you got to think of that in terms of a mind virus that's been inserted all kinds of ways.
Yep.
By mass media into the consciousness of the world.
Yep.
I just wanted to
absolutely.
that out.
And not just
go ahead.
I was going to say, not just placed there, like pushed. Like
yes,
it's being
absolutely. It's
pushed,
part of it,
unlike anything we've ever seen before.
That kind of tells you that it's engineered, or engineered in the sense of it's been planned for and it's being done. It's not just a happenstance that's happened. You know, woe is us. Something weird happened out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere.
No.
It was planned for, and it was that. Yeah, it's intentional. We still got to respond to it, but it's intentional. It's not an accident. I mean, you know what I mean by that. I don't mean accident.
Yep.
Like nobody.
It's not natural.
Bingo.
Definitely not natural.
Bingo. All right, I'll let you go.
So, Anne, are you there, love?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello, darling. Could you talk a little bit, because you and I have talked about some of the homeopathics. So like arsenicum, and you and I talked about lycopodium, and we talked about gelsemium, etc. So if you could, because I would like everyone here who's watching this, who's here with us live, or who is going to see this video later, homeopathics are extremely inexpensive. And it's not like you buy it and 1 month later it's gone off past its due date and you have to, refresh it. This fucking works. So I want to just talk about some of the different aspects of different homeopathics we should be looking at, Anne.
Okay. So first of all, I want to talk about the little that we know about this so-called virus that's going around. From what I've read from doctors who are dealing with people who are sick in Italy, one of the big problems is that the medical systems the hospitals don't have room to take people in. So they're saying to people, stay put until you have breathing difficulties, right? So by the time people get to hospital, they already have double interstitial pneumonia, which is quite difficult to treat and requires particular equipment and interventions that most hospitals don't have a lot of. So, one of the problems with allopathic medicine is that they don't have any tools in their toolbox to stimulate the immune response. So they've absolutely nothing that they can do to help people through this disease. And this is one of the reasons why they're so freaked out by it. For homeopaths, it's not a big deal because we've got hundreds of potential remedies. So from what we can see, the first thing is, as Danny mentioned, arsenicum album. The Indians were giving that as one of the best remedies to take. If you find yourself getting sucked into the fear of it, if you feel that kind of anxiety in your chest, oh my God, I'm going to be sick, oh, I'm going to get it. Anxiety about health, if you feel really restless and agitated in your physical body and you just start fixating on this so-called disease, take arsenicum album. You can get a 30C potency in any shop. And just take 1 or 2 pills, and you should immediately feel yourself, yes, Linda, 30C, you should feel yourself calming down. Now, it's very important to stay out of, pandemics are, it's a collective frequency. So that's what Maury was saying, this is a mind disease, and that's the same thing, it's a collective frequency. So everybody can, the more that people get into the frequency of the disease, the faster it spreads. So it's very important for you to stay out of fear, to stay out of that frequency. And if you feel yourself getting anxious, then do something to calm yourself down. Either take the arsenicum, which is really good. You can also take rescue remedy. Bach flower rescue remedy is very good. Yes. We have an essence here that works, but you won't be able to get that in the US. So it's probably, oh, whoops, that's Brianna calling me for some reason. Not now, Brianna.
And
okay,
just to jump in here,
Blair, let Ann finish, please. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So number one, that's if you find yourself in the frequency of fear. So we're still gathering symptoms for the early phase, if you like, of this disease. One of the things that seems to happen is that people develop a sudden high fever. Now, you must know that a fever is your body's way of dealing with a virus or a bacteria. Your body's simply responding in a healing way to what's going on with you. And it's really important that you don't stop that response. If you go straight away and take something to stop that temperature, all you're doing is stopping your body's own immune response to the virus or whatever the heck it is. And they found in the 1918-20 pandemic, people who took aspirin had a much worse outcome than people who didn't. So it's really important, if you get a fever, that you manage that fever without taking a medicine, if at all possible. If you find yourself, if you find that the fever is difficult, like, in other words, if you feel uncomfortable in your head or you feel the fever is going too high and it's come on suddenly, then the remedy is aconite, 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 very likely. And again, you could take that, you can get that in a 30C. Now, one of the interesting things about aconite is it's also a major remedy for shock.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and a lot of people are in a state of shock at the moment. So if you find yourself feeling shocked and you have go into a high fever, aconite could be a remedy for you to take. Managing the fever is just mostly about good nursing. One of the things that, you know, people have forgotten how to manage a fever. It's important. The fever needs to be in your torso. So if you feel that you're getting too hot in your head, you can tepid sponge, not cold, but tepid sponge down out of the head into the torso, and again up the legs and the arms. You want the heat. You're cooking, essentially you're cooking the virus, and that's what you want to encourage your body to do. As the body completes that process, you'll usually break a sweat. That's healthy. That's very good. You just have to think about the old Western films, you know, when people would walk up and down and finally somebody would break a sweat and all would be well.
Yep.
Again, it's very important when you have a situation, an acute situation like this, your body is going to be totally involved in healing. So it's normal not to want to eat. Sometimes people say, oh my God, you know, you have to get food in. No, you don't, because your body needs to detox. It needs all the energy it's got to deal with the healing. So drink loads, make sure you've got lots of water going in, or Gatorade, or whatever it is, electrolytes, whatever kind of electrolyte mix you have. Brianna's just messaging that she just got home before the shutdown. Okay, so arsenicum for the fear, aconite for the high fever, nurse the fever. There will be more specific homeopathic remedies to do with the particular. If you go any further than that, there are several homeopathic remedies, and I will write more about them and a bit of a description in the next day or two. We're still working, homeopaths are working as a group, collating symptoms to see if we can come up with what's called a genus epidemicus. That is a remedy or list of remedies that are most likely to work in an epidemic situation. And at this point, we're still collating information. But like I say, if you can keep yourself out of fear, and if you can keep, if you can treat a fever if you get one, rest, vitally important, hydration, rest, hydration, and a good attitude should get you through in most cases. If you have more, if you go into, like if you come across somebody who goes into a more serious chest situation, you would probably need to talk to a homeopath to get an individual prescription for yourself, because there would be several possible remedies. Now, does anybody have a question about that? And the mix you made for me, you think that would help? And would that thing be good to take regardless of feeling sick? Yes. It's very important. We call, I mean, one of the ways of looking at a virus or a bacterial infection is to call it a dis-ease. It means your frequency is off. Your energy is dis-eased. It's not at ease. So anything that you can do to rebalance, stabilize your energy body is going to allow your immune system to work better. So at this point, you know, do everything you can to be calm, to stay healthy, and that will help. That will help.
I have a question.
And go ahead, Nancy.
Sorry, about the arsenicum. Danny told me about that last week. Thank you very much. She got that from you. And she sent me an article on it. Very interesting. So I flip-flop. I'm all over the place. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's the truth. So one minute I'll be like, ah! Next minute, I'm steady going, don't lose your mind. It's all bullshit. Just prepare and stay calm. And then I'll flip-flop because of the programming. I've turned all news off since then. But the arsenicum, how often do you take that? I'm going to do my whole family. So is it something that you take just when you feel the fear, or is it something that you take and it builds up to a steady state level in your stream?
Okay. Now, when you take a homeopathic remedy, is a submolecular dose. So it's not like taking a herbal supplement where you'll be dealing with a physical interaction between the herbal supplement and your body. What you're dealing, I sometimes describe a homeopathic remedy as a drain rod. So in a state of health, your energy flows, right? Sometimes it gets blocked. Now, the homeopathic remedy is like a drain rod. All it does is unblock that block, and then your energy flows again. Okay. So you do not need to take it sometimes. Sometimes one poke with homeopathic remedy, energy will flow, and you don't need to take anything else. If you find yourself going into fear a lot, you might be better off taking rescue remedy, because you can take that all day without having any ill effects at all.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a change of the way you think. Like, that's the whole thing with homeopathics, is we've been so programmed to think in terms of allopathic medicine, of exactly what you were just saying, Nancy. We're so programmed to think that it took me months to break that piece of programming down. And it is to the point, and I'll share this, just before I moved, I did my shoulder in really bad, to the point where it was dislocating. If I even so much as bent over to pick up something off the floor, my shoulder was falling out of joint. I had 3 days where I was walking around like holding my shirt like this to try and immobilize my shoulder while I'm trying to pack, clean the house, get kids organized. I should have done it right off the bat, but I finally messaged Ann, and Ann said, okay, you need to take this. I've already got my homeopathics all packed. Not only that, usually I would make a water remedy, i.e. write the homeopathic, what it is I'm going to write, tape it to the glass, put the energy in the glass, and go. I didn't even have a paper and a pen or a piece of tape handy. So I literally took my glass of water, put the water in my mouth, energized the water in my mouth with exactly what Ann told me to basically charge it as, which was the Ruta, wasn't it, Ann? Yeah, the Ruta.
Yeah, Rutagraph.
Rutagraph, which is, I'm telling you, everyone should have Rutagraph on hand because it saves me so many times. And literally just swallowed the water, and it fucking worked. Within 15 minutes, I had no more pain in my shoulder. My shoulder was fine. It didn't fall out again for, I don't know, another 5 hours. And at that point, it had been falling out of joint every 15, 20 minutes.
And it didn't feel like an opiate?
What? No, it's not. It's a
Well, you know, like
homeopathic.
kratom. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a homeopathic, Blair. Not even remotely like that stuff. So I've had so much success with treating things with homeopathics now that it's now my go-to. It's my complete go-to on all when things that panic, anxiety, fear, the aconite, shock, and to the point of now, I mean, we were in Malta, my girls carry a little kit like this with them, and they know how to use what's in it. And they have one of the little kids that they're with will fall down off a slide and go into that hysterical crying, and Quinlan would pull out an aconite and give them an aconite, and it's like, stop.
You mean arsenicum or aconite?
Aconite.
I thought that was for the fever.
It is also for the for anxiety, like shock, like specifically shock.
Well, like when people get into shock, because some
when they go into that shock,
okay.
And not just like physical shock, but emotional shock, etc. And I use it for that all the time. Like if one of my kids, Quinlan, gets panic attacks occasionally, and the very first thing I do, and she does it herself, is take an aconite immediately, and it makes an incredible difference incredibly quickly.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah, Zero.
I'm sure you're headed here. I'm sure the discussion is headed here anyway. But I would be interested to know kind of like beyond just fever related things, you know, what are some of those things we can do to prepare that say like that scenario like you mentioned, like, you know, global pandemic or global shutdown in some way. Like, I would be interested to know some of the things to prepare for, maybe not strictly fever related. I'm sure we're getting.
Oh, absolutely. So going back to what I was saying, salt. So the vast majority of people have shit nutrition diet. Their diet is absolutely crap. And all you have to do is, honestly, when you go into the stores, is look at what the people are panic buying. Like 10 boxes of Pop-Tarts, 3 cases of Coke. And that tells you exactly where their nutritional stance is. That's why I'm saying this. And I'm giving my family, everyone in the family is getting this at least twice a day, and the dogs. And I just take these are the little tiny, these are micro, you can barely see. You can see how tiny those are. Teeny little globules, those ones. And I just put some in the dog's water bowl every morning and every night. So that's your cell salts, okay? Mineral salts. Things like, for example, fresh produce, fresh foods. One of the things that I did today, we know vitamin C. We've been told our whole lives vitamin C is how you cure a cold. Well, they're absolutely right. Vitamin C is how you cure a cold. Not cure a cold, but how you boost your immune system to fight off colds and viruses and bacteria. We know that there was several natural, I'm not going to say naturopathic, but natural medicine hospitals in China that were fighting the virus using massive doses of vitamin C and having very good success with it. Now, the problem is most of the vitamin C that you buy is crap, right? It's not real vitamin C. It's ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid is not vitamin C. But you can actually make your own vitamin C really easy. I'm going to toss me an orange. I went out today. No, don't throw it at me. I went out today and I bought 5 bags of oranges, 3 bags of lemons. The amount of vitamin C in this is huge. And it doesn't mean that you have to drink it, you have to eat it. For example, you can make liposomal vitamin C. And if you literally go on YouTube, I don't have a video handy at the moment. You go on YouTube or Google, make your own liposomal vitamin C. It's real easy. And then you're actually getting real proper vitamin C that your body can use, 100% bioavailable, not ascorbic acid. Okay? Things like, if you can get out in the sun and get some vitamin D from the sun would be great. I'm in England right now, land of the gray skies. I went and bought vitamin D today. Now, it's not, commercial vitamin D is not great. It's not the best way to go by any means. But it comes back to a conversation I had with you guys several times over the last year. In a perfect world, we want to feed ourselves organic. We want to have things that have no chemicals in it. You want to make sure that you're buying stuff that is 100% healthy for you. You're not going to buy something that's got BPA in it. You're not going to buy something that's got, all these different chemicals in it. And that's all great in a perfect world. But when we get into a situation of kind of like the shit that's going on right now, we're no longer in a perfect world. So sometimes you have to do with what you can. And if that means going and buying commercial vitamin D, then that's what you buy. If it means even going and buying commercial vitamin C, it's not great, but it's better than nothing. Obviously, making your own liposomal vitamin C would be the best choice. But if you can't, take the next best thing that you can get, right? When you're in a situation like today, when I went out grocery shopping, and I always joke about this all the time and say, when I buy canned tomatoes or canned tomato sauce, I will only buy sauce that has been canned and produced in Italy. The reason why is the vast majority of tin cans or aluminum cans have got a BPA plastic lining in it that contains BPA. Anything that's acidic, like tomatoes, leaches the BPA out and it goes into the tomatoes. Really, really bad. Italy is one of the only European countries, one of the only countries in the world that has banned BPA across the board. So none of their cans. So in a perfect world, you say, I'm going to buy these canned tomatoes to have in storage in case of, and I'm going to buy these ones that come only from Italy because I know they have no BPA. In an imperfect world, like going out shopping today, I couldn't get those. So therefore I bought what was available. Make the best choices you can with what you've got. So it's one of those things that I want to talk about because, and Nancy actually brought this to my attention, and it was a few weeks ago, is there is the perfect world and then there's the imperfect world. And we do the best that we can with what we have available at the time that you have to do it. So like I say, maybe it would all be great if we would all sit out in the sun and get some great natural vitamin D. If you can't do that, then go get some commercial vitamin D from the store. It's better than nothing, right? Things to look at is the most important is nutrition. So one of those things is like, I always talk about bone broth. Bone broth is massively full of nutrition. And if you make a pot of bone broth every single week and you put it down into the freezer in small containers, you've got enough to keep you going for ages and ages. Yeah, exactly, Maurice. Ascorbic acid is better than nothing, and that's what it comes down to. You don't want it, but if it comes to that or nothing, right? And it doesn't have to be that expensive. Like I said, get your natural foods. It comes down to things like boosting your immune system. Start making smoothies. You can go and buy like some fruits and veg, et cetera, throw them into the blender and make yourself some smoothies to drink to really pump up your nutrition. Get rest. Get some good sleep as best as you can, right? Rest when you're tired. When you're tired, take a nap if you can. That's the most important part of it. Now, the other thing is do you want to take, I went out and I prepped, before we left Malta, I prepped a few things. Made sure that I had, for example, paracetamol, ibuprofen, these kinds of things on hand because I didn't want to get caught without. And they're really inexpensive in Malta. But when you start dealing with wanting to actually treat stuff, I always want to go to the natural. So I went out and I bought herbs. Herbs that I know are really, really good. We want to look at things like, I went and bought fresh ginger. I made sure I got a nice container of raw honey in the house. Things like coconut oil. Things like, all the kind of herbs. Lemon balm is a brilliant herb. And actually, if you can get it, lemon balm is an exceptionally good herb to put in tea if you're really stressed. In many ways, it's actually better than chamomile, although I like the two of them together, lemon balm and chamomile together, as an anti-anxiety, as something to help calming yourself down. Lemon balm is brilliant for that. Being prepared means being prepared for if you're going to be home for 2 weeks. Now, Italy has stopped all mortgage payments and all bills, all utilities have been frozen. That's Italy. There has been talk, I believe in Ireland, wasn't it, Anne, that they're kind of tossing something similar around in Ireland?
Yeah, looks like it.
And there's a few other countries too. But in the meantime, even if you don't have to pay a mortgage or whatever, there's other things that you have to deal with. things that run out, things like in the stores, things run out. If you end up with borders closing, you could end up with the fact that there could be a run on certain aspect things. So things like medicines, etc. So it's better to have things on hand that you can use. Do yourself a little bit of prep time. Like I said, have some things on hand, the kind of ingredients we talk about all the time. Like have some coconut oil, have fresh lemons and oranges, have some cloves on hand, have some honey, have eucalyptus, have some dried herbs, have some essential oils. Someone just brought it up, thieves oil. Making thieves oil is super easy, and it's not expensive because the oils that go into making thieves oil are relatively inexpensive. So make your own thieves oil. You know, people are worried about things like, for example, hand sanitizer. Go out and get yourself the cheap bottles, and you all know what I'm talking about, of aloe vera gel. You know, you can usually even get them at the dollar store, and it's just like a clear or greenish colored gel. Get some of that, put it in a squeeze bottle, mix in some essential oils with it, shake it up and mix it really, really well. You now have antibacterial hand sanitizer. You don't need the crap that they're selling in the stores is horrific for you. You don't want to use that shit anyway, right? So you don't have to be tied to the Western thinking of how to do these things. And it's about expanding your knowledge. If you're off work right now, instead of panicking and sitting down on Facebook for 6 hours, reading a scroll and through the news that's going to make you more and more anxious and full of anxiety, go do some research. Go do some research like, you know, how to make your own cough syrup. Really, really, really easy. Honey, cloves, garlic, onions, double boiler, 20 minutes. Strain it off, put it in the fridge. You now have cough syrup.
Jenny, when you get a chance, I'd like to add that what I read to you from this book. Remember the gift?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Absolutely. That was a really good quote.
When you're done talking about that, we'll address the mind disease part from this book.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So some of the other things is, you know, anyone who can, you should have cash on hand. Think of this as prepping for. We've talked about prepping for. Oh God, everything has been from pole flips to an earthquake to typhoons, et cetera, et cetera. If services go down, what do you need? Do you need money? Then have money on hand. If you can possibly have money on hand, make sure you have money on hand. God knows it's a good idea to have the money out of the banks right now anyway. Sorry, say again, Fred?
I don't want to interrupt, but I'm only interrupting to say when you're done and before Nancy's, so we can then after go back to something calmer than the prepping. I want to add something on the prepping, being on the side that's where it's now. We're shutting down. So there's a few things I want to tell people because from personal experience that need to know. So finish your sentence and you know.
Yep. This is the thing. What do you need to have on hand? Well, go through your daily life. What is it that you can't live without? And if you really, really can't live without it, do you really, really need to live without it? Do you know what I'm saying? Like you kind of really look at your priorities and go, what can I not live without? What do I not want to live without? Etc. Having stuff on hand that doesn't go off, obviously, is better. You know, like having things like rice. Go out and buy a big bag of rice. These kinds of things. But it's mentally being prepared, right? Like it's at no point in time in the last 2 weeks have I been panicking or fearful. Because in my head, I'm already prepared. I know what I'm doing. I know what I need. I don't know where to get most of this stuff because I've just moved to this damn country. So I'm like literally Google Maps going, where's the nearest hardware store? Where's the nearest pharmacy, etc. But when you know you already have the information up here, or at the very least in a book that's either on your computer or on your shelf. Knowledge is the key to staying out of fear. Knowing that you know what to do in the case of an emergency is the most useful piece of information you'll ever have, and the most useful way of staying out of fear is because you already know what it is that you need to do, so therefore you're not going to panic. Nancy, do you want to read that thing about the mind thing? Because that was really, really profound. I really like that.
Could I add the prepping so we can?
No, we'll go back
talking about it.
We'll go back to that. Don't worry, Brianna. This show is about prepping tonight.
I'm not worried. I would rather we stop and then Nancy can take on and we can talk again about how to calm ourselves and get out of that.
Okay,
I don't know.
Go ahead, Brianna. You've got a bee in your bonnet, so go.
We can pick up on the calming side. Okay, let's calm down. As we prepping for this, I've been prepping, first of all, emotionally for over a month. I'm one of those people that said, okay, this could be the real thing for once. It could happen, blah, blah. No matter how much you prep your mind, it comes too soon. I mean, all of this happens way faster than any of us anticipated. So my part of the world is shutting down now. It's much faster than we thought. They don't even declare cases, but end of deal is exactly as Danny said, do prioritize. Depends how much money you have, of course. Prioritize, but don't wait for the last minute, obviously.
No.
Don't hoard either. If you're able to buy sensibly, you go, you buy, you bring home, you buy some more. Think of there's one thing I'd like to say. We don't know how it's going to be, but India, obviously everybody knows by now, India's completely stopped exporting their medicines. So generic, at least in Europe, generic meds, generic ibuprofen and all that may come in short for a while. So you may end up with only the expensive ones, buying the brand names that are 10 times the price. And India is also not going to export the precursors, which means we may. So those of us who still use, ibuprofen or something for headaches and other things when it gets too much, make a sensible, not just 2-3 weeks. I'm talking just have in your closet what you would feel comfortable with for the next 6 months, period. If you have people that use Ventolin and things like that, Symbicort, Ventolin, stuff like that, have a few months.
Yep.
It's that kind of stuff. What's happening here, it's a partial shutdown. They're going to shut down all the smaller markets because we're in Europe, so you've got your bigger supermarkets, you've got the smaller ones that are, they're the same fucking brand, but they're in the city. The small ones are shutting down tomorrow night. That's it. We will only be able to get our food through the big supermarkets, and just as in Italy, they will be shut, and you can only go in like 4 or 5 people at a time. You have to stand in line, the whole camoot. So it's going to be a bit messy. So honestly, prepare. And this caught me by, I thought I had way more time. Officially, we have 100 cases, officially. And they're shutting down.
Yep.
So don't go by, what they count. Don't go by what they say. Just, do the stuff and do the stuff that makes you comfortable. Don't do just 2 weeks. Do a little bit more. Count on more than 2 weeks, because 2 weeks is the case if they tell you to isolate at home, self-isolate, blah, blah, the family, it's 2 weeks. But once you get to the point of it will be shut down, think that it will take you hours to do a normal shopping, because you'll have to stand in line, and
already
we don't know how it's going to be.
Already, I heard Malta, friends of ours had to wait in a lineup for an hour just to get into one of the grocery stores, and then waited in lineup to cash out for another hour.
Yeah, that's why I did a lot of it now. When I smelled that it was really starting to stink, I said, okay, we have stores that, I suppose they'll stop doing that probably for now, but we have stores that are open until like midnight. Yeah. And I waited until 9 p.m. and I went to those now to do the last minute, want to get a little more coffee, want to get a little, because I want to have more than 2 weeks, because the store shutdown is going to, who knows how long they're going to think it's okay, until probably people start going nuts. It's going to get harder. So, but the meds, your meds, although pharmacies will stay open. I mean, they're not crazy. Over here, they will. So it's just pharmacies will stay open. But again, it's going to be about, letting in people. You might have panic people. And, again, this is a country, take the example of a country who declaratively had only 100, we're up to declared 100 and a few cases only. They're shutting down the country. I passed a hospital just earlier next to my son's house, who 2 days ago looked perfectly normal, old buildings and a courtyard with trees and all that. It was all boarded up now, and there's tents in the courtyard. They know there's way more than any given country right now. There's no panic about it, but there's way more. They know they're going to get a lot of sick people. We're talking about the people that are more sensitive, not us. We should be able, if we get it, to ride it out at home, of course. Yeah. But just be prepared emotionally to be on your own, as in count on your friends and family. That and prepare, like Anne and Danny and everybody tells you, get your herbs, buy those, because the natural stores will be shut down. They're considered non-essential. They will be shut. And you're not going to get your, lemon grass and your oregano oil from a fucking supermarket, because they don't carry that.
Actually, you can here.
So that kind of stuff. You can? Oh, that's
oh yeah,
cool.
Here it is, no problem. I actually bought a big bundle of some of that stuff today.
Really?
Yep.
Excellent. So that's great. Yay for the UK. Over here, no, it's natural stores, and those will, as of, if they're open tomorrow, because tomorrow's Sunday, and they announced the shutdown Saturday evening at 8 p.m. Natural store were already closed. Those guys. So just, grab your things calmly, grab the things that make you comfortable. You know what? Tomorrow I'm going hunting for my comfort foods, like fucking potato chips, because, shit.
And one of the things to remember, though, like one of the good things to remember is, for example, some of the best healing herbs to have on hand are in your grocery aisle to use for putting in your tomato sauce. They're there, so it's not like you don't have to go buy a specialty health food item where maybe the shops. Right. Like I've told everyone for ages, go have a massive amount of dried oregano on hand, because dried oregano is kick-ass, and you can buy it in any grocery store, right?
Right, but before you need to stand in line, like we're going to have to do starting tomorrow. Yep. So that's why, get your stuff. It's a completely different thing from, preparing for, when you prepare, like, okay, a hurricane comes, it's going to be shithole for 2 weeks, or for, then stuff starts coming in. This thing, we don't know. We don't know how long these people will consider lockdowns necessary. We have no clue. So, get ready to make yourself comfortable. And pet foods, those of you who have pets.
Yeah, pet foods is a big one. Making sure you have the stuff for pet food.
Have enough, because, it's especially that big supermarkets don't always carry that much stuff. I try to speak with all the little ones, the smaller stores that I went to tonight. I spoke with all the guys, and I said, okay, look, what's your stat? What did they tell you? And they told them absolutely nothing. They just got an email at 8 p.m.
Yep.
That's it, shut down. Honestly, the activist in me took over, and I said to those guys, okay, you didn't have time to shop, grab everything and go home. When you shut down, when you close the store, grab all the fresh produce. Fuck them. Grab the fresh produce, take it home. You're going to need to eat. Yep. You know what's, okay, well, I'll talk about that Wednesday also, because there are some emotional scenes, the things that you never think you'd see in a city. I walked past restaurants, and I saw they were like in the middle of the restaurant. They had the big crates with probably all the food they had left, that obviously they're shutting down, so that's it. And they were giving it away to all the employees, and it was, it's
good,
neat.
Awesome.
It was neat. It was really awesome. We're going to see some really cool people do some really cool things.
And we always do. We always do. And that's one of my things I always come back to. Human nature is good. And the news will always try and tell you during Hurricane Katrina that there were these people who were looting and murdering and all the rest of it. But those are the minority. Those are this very small percentage. The average person is going to look after themselves. They're going to look after their family. They're going to help out their neighbors. And you're going to see people sharing. Because, like I said, I talk about the big blackout that we had in Toronto in 2003. A whole week with no power, no electricity, fucking nothing. In our neighborhood, we all got together and we had barbecues every night. And everyone kind of like whatever you had, you kind of donated into the mix. And that's the way it worked. And it went very, very smoothly.
Danny?
Yeah, Han?
Yes, I just went through the Danish lockdown. And
Yeah.
I was listening to Brianna talking about the supermarkets and all that. And it's very interesting because I think people lost their eating habits, the healthy ones.
Yeah.
People were loading on beers and chips and frozen foods. And I've seen people paying around 100 euros for nothing, nothing, And I went to the meat area, all the mince meat, the fatty one, which is the cheapest one, that is good.
Yep.
Everything was there. You know how much bolognese sauce you can do with that?
Exactly.
Some potatoes, and it can keep you running through the day. Chickens. Frozen whole chickens, they were still there.
Yep.
Because you know how much chicken and rice you can make for 100 euros to spend on beers and chips?
That's it. It's about smart shopping. I was just going to say that because Brianna brought up pets. So, like, I make my dogs their food. Like, we have a large bag of kibble that we keep as filler in between type stuff. But I make the dogs all their own food. So I went up today and I bought 5 packets of ground beef and 2 big packets of ground turkey. And I got it all in the freezer now. And that with all the odds and ends, all the other vegetables that I have around, the rice, the oats, et cetera, I've got enough to keep them fed for at least 2.5 weeks comfortably without having to do anything excessive.
Sorry, I totally forgot. And that was one thing I did want to say. If you can, again, it's, each with our own budgets, juggling with that.
Yeah.
Do keep, yes, the usual, what we all do, what we've always, that's us, UnFuckers, and cash. Okay, yes, cash. Try to keep a little bit of money on a card. There may be a moment when they will refuse cash. And have that card that, you can at least, do the whatever you'll be missing by then, your fresh fruit, whatever. Just have that little bit. Usually it's the last thing we're all.
I know,
this is
my
so
card is
fucking
empty
special.
right now, and I'm like,
it's annoying. Yeah, I know, mine too. Mine is emptied because I had a little bit on one card. I had to use it today because the announcement caught me. I was at my son's house. I wasn't home. I didn't have time to come back home and grab a little bit of cash. I still have a little bit of cash, but if it comes to that, try to have a card with, whatever that you would love to spend, what you would usually spend on fresh food, because it may happen. It may not, but it may. And,
No, absolutely. Prepared for, within the realms of what you can do.
Exactly. We're not dealing with the usual stuff that we always talk about,
No.
Cataclysm.
Well,
okay, it's nurse.
Yep, but we are. And that's the whole thing. This is what I'm trying to say. We actually are. This is no different than preparing for an earthquake or preparing for a hurricane, etc.
Absolutely. With a minor, with the little minor, a few things like the cash. Usually cash would be exactly what you want to have, and only cash. This time.
But we know.
That's it. This time, just keep a little bit. And those of you who have sensitive skin, they have done something to the water at least a week ago. I can smell it. I can feel it. It's
heavily chlorinated.
It's way more chlorinated, and it probably put some other inhibitors in there. God knows what. So if you have sensitive skin, have more, of the oil and creams that you usually use, just have those two because you may need it. Kosti's eczema completely broke out. It's a disaster. I just had to shave his fucking head because we're going military. It's no time for bullshit. So I just sat in the fucking kitchen an hour ago. I was shaving his head off because he has eczema all over his scalp.
Right. So coconut oil. Is an interim? Just rub it down with coconut oil, right?
I told him hopefully tomorrow he'll go hunting for that. Hopefully he can, find some natural store because there's a lot of stores around his area as well. I'm going to be hunting on my side for like last minute stuff before. So at least we buy ourselves like even on the fresh produce the first week so you can see how it's happening, how it's implementing. Then you can start to see if they will close the supermarkets. So you have to stand in line. Let's see how it works. Let's see what are the times when there's less people so we can go at those times when when you're not job stuck.
Yep.
And it's great to buy yourself that little bit extra time as well.
Yep, absolutely.
It will
This is the whole thing. Think natural. Think natural. Like for me, it's like I said. Now I obviously came with all my oils, so I've got tons of black seed oil if it comes down to that. But like I went and bought coconut oil because for certain things when I'm cooking, I want to have coconut oil. So I made sure I had one big glass, massive jar of coconut oil. When you have the basics in the house, it's going to take, for a lot of people, it's going to take some retraining because we've become a society that is so used to instant, pre-prepared, just add water and nuke type foods that there is unfortunately there's a whole generation of people who don't know how to cook, and they're going to need to go out and start do some homework. This is like I say, if you're off work for the next 2 weeks, do some homework. Do you know how to make a loaf of bread? It's real fucking easy. It's real fucking easy. Flour, yeast, water, a little bit of salt, and a teaspoon of sugar. Boom, you're done. Wait, why who's sharing their screen? There we go. They're cute earrings, yes. I think Andrea should start making something like that. Little tiny crocheted earrings with toilet paper on them.
Can I add to this part of the conversation?
Yeah, go ahead,
because
Nancy.
if we're talking about preps on a budget, so I've just looked it up, but the takeaway was from a book that I have called Dare to Prepare by Holly Drennan-Deo. And in the book, she talks about a lot of our prescription medications are really good, way beyond the expiry date. So if we can't take the natural route, or maybe someone here has an EpiPen, okay, so listen carefully. Those EpiPens, now I'm going to read, and then I'm going to drop the link in the
chat.
The chat, okay? So I'm just going to read this part about the EpiPens, but so if you do have your Tylenols at home and it expired 2 years ago, keep it, because they're showing 5 to 10 years. So we don't have to rush out like insanity and try to buy whatever it is that you prefer, if you prefer over-the-counter medications, or if you can't get any of the natural remedies anymore because they're selling too. I've just been to our local health store and that's selling out like crazy as well. So right here it says, so this group that published the study, they examined 40 EpiPens, and they had been expired between 1 and 50 months. And the testing showed that 24 of the 40 expired devices contained at least 90% of their stated amount of epinephrine, enough to be considered as potent as when they were made. All of them contained at least 80% of their labeled concentration of medications. So the takeaway, even EpiPens stored in less than ideal conditions may last longer than their labels say they do. And if there's no other option, an expired EpiPen may be better than nothing.
Can I jump in here for a quick second?
Yes.
This is a little explanation. We're talking about big pharma here. EpiPens are expensive. They tell you they expire in 6 months because they want you to buy them again in 6 months. For insurance purposes, they have to put these ridiculous dates, expiration dates. Now, I talked to my personal doctor, this was years ago, and she was talking about exactly that, Tylenol, paracetamol, ibuprofen. And she was saying, listen, She says it could say that it was expired this year. That will be good for at least another 5 years. It's the insurance companies that force them to put an expiration date because they will only state, and I can't remember what it was, she said for over the counter, I think it was 18 months. I think it was 18 months or 24 months was the maximum the insurance companies would cover them for liability. So it has nothing to do with the efficiency of the drug and everything to do with insurance companies and Big Pharma trying to make more money.
Okay, awesome. And so that article just covers, it's a long, long article, but it covers everything that you just said. And it talked about the U.S. military wasting billions of dollars on throwing out expired medications.
Yep.
And they wanted a solution. So, you know, it's a really good reference article. Now, they cited all the studies in the article. So, you know, I haven't jumped off to read the articles because I do have that Dare to Prepare book. Now,
Yep.
someone just posted the latest edition, the 6th edition. I have the 5th edition from 2011, so I'm not sure what the new information in that book Dare to Prepare has. Warning, if anybody's in Canada, I was going to order 4 books last night to give to my family and friends, and the shipping was $70. And I'm thinking, do I or don't I?
Oh,
you know?
my God.
I know, it's Canada retard again, right? With the shipping. So, but I also want to point out, so I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos and following comments in YouTube and on also Facebook. And people that are in the preparation world know that you're not supposed to broadcast what you have. And I've had a lot of people come saying, I got this, we got 20 of this. And I don't know, I can't remember, maybe someone else in here can help me out, but just after 9/11 or shortly thereafter, they did come out with some kind of law in the US, and I haven't checked Canada, but I assume it's the same in every country. They can take your supplies in the event of an emergency. So
Yep.
why would you
don't tell anyone what you've stockpiled?
Exactly. You don't tell everybody, and if you can, pay cash because they now track everything, you know, digitally. Do that. But stay away from, like, you can go through numerous videos right now on YouTube and people are telling you, I got this and I got that and I've got all these water purifiers, and it's like, don't do that. You not only make your target, like, social media isn't as private as you think. Even if you might have a pseudonym for your name and you're commenting on YouTube. I know everybody in here knows this anyway. I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't know. Maybe somebody will watch the video though, and it'll help them, right? Because it's not your neighbor that you should be scared of. Because a good thing.
It's the fucking government you should be afraid of.
Yeah, right. They can't have my chocolate either, Linda. I got it hidden. So
get a wall safe. Put all the chocolate in the wall safe.
Yeah. So. And the other thing I was hoping we could talk about, maybe just, even though we don't know what this is, if it's a hoax, if it's fake, we've all come to the agreement that, you know, we all have differing opinions and things like that, but that's okay. Maybe we could talk about an isolation protocol, even if somebody's flu or somebody in your house has cancer and they're going through cancer treatments and you don't want to get them sick. We need to discuss, you know, how you're going to clean, where you're going to put your soiled linens, what you're going to do if someone's sick, how they should stay in another room. You know, they use a separate washroom if they have a separate washroom. Because, you know, even though they're coming out, let's just for a minute listen to what they're saying. They're saying it's affecting people that are, you know, have comorbidities, they're elderly, they have underlying systems. Every life matters. I don't care if they're saying, you know, the flu, let's go with the flu, or we're going to call this the marigold disease, okay? That's what we decided. I think Allison
that's right.
Earlier.
Yeah, right.
We're
no longer calling this
no.
COVID-19 or coronavirus. We're calling it the marigold disease.
Yeah. Yeah, we're taking the power away from that. Okay, so, it's Anne's idea. Okay,
it's Anne's idea. Anne and
okay.
Sue and Anne and Amina. That was them. They came up with it. We're going to now call it the marigold disease and take all the power away from the name. It's just the marigold disease.
Okay. I started making a checklist, Jane, actually for Kent Baker's show, because his subscribers wanted to know what to get. So I have a list. It's really overkill, and there's nothing natural on it. Okay, so don't assassinate me, guys. You can add to the list. No, seriously.
No,
in another
absolutely. No. That's great. Listen, because you know what? You've got your list, which is awesome, and I can put my list that's all the natural stuff, and Anne can put out a list that's homeopathic.
Right.
And then you build what is like a really good across-the-board balance list.
Because out of my book, it's called Pandemic, and it was by a Dr. Gary Ridenour, and it was around the time where the bird flu craziness was surrounding us. So he wrote a big book on the bird flu, and at the back he had an attachment of how to use chlorine to make up a 0.5% disinfecting solution. But he also talked about pool shock, and Gorf talked about pool shock earlier. Pool shock is very dangerous, though. You have to handle it very carefully. You can't get it wet. You have to store it. Like if you get it, it can explode. You can't inhale. 30 parts per million can damage your lungs. 10 parts per million can kill you. So you have to handle pool shock. And I know because I've dropped it on my foot and it ate away between my toes, and it was terrible. We used to have a pool. But the sheet, so what I did was I just took a picture of the two sheets and put it in another group. But some people got really mad at me because they don't use chlorine and said it was poison. Well, some of us might like to use chlorine. So if that's okay with you guys, I will post the sheet and it shows you how to make it up. So remember I talked about bleach before and how our normal household bleach now on the shelf doesn't contain enough as a disinfectant out of the bottle. This formula in the back shows you how to use any value of free bleach in any bottle. So even if it's 4%, you can still make up a disinfecting formula. And we're going to try to use what we have, because at some point we might.
And what's available? What's easily available?
Easily available. Okay, so please don't shoot me. I know chlorine is poison, but we got to use what we need, okay?
It comes, no. Again, Nancy, it comes down to, in a perfect world, I don't use bleach. In a perfect world, that's not the route I would choose to go to. This is not a perfect world. I have a massive jug of bleach under my kitchen sink. Why? Because I'm going to fucking need it. So it's there.
Yes. In an ideal world, I'd be eating all organic and I would be doing everything that I could to keep myself healthy. We are in a situation that's unprecedented right now.
Yeah.
No matter what the cause, we're feeling the reaction, and we're going to be proactive. We're not going to be reactive, right? We don't want to be reactive. There's people in my neighborhood that are like, oh, I don't care until it affects us. And I'm thinking, well, that's really irresponsible, and that's not help your neighbor, but you can't change people.
Nope.
Right? So
hey Nancy, if you have like a digital copy of this list, it'd be cool if you could like.
I do. I PDF it.
And she'll send it to me, right, Nancy?
Yeah, I'll send it to Danny, and she can maybe put it in announcements or something. And please,
maybe
people, it might be overkill, but it's just to get you thinking. Oh, I forgot. Maybe I should have bought even canned fruit, because even though it's sugary or syrupy, you can use that as water. If we run out of water, your canned vegetables. I know they're in BPA cans, but then again, we go back to that. We're not in an ideal world, and if you need water and you've run out, you can use the water in your canned vegetables as a small supply to take a pill.
So question about the PDF: is it something that can be shared on screen? Just
I didn't
for
put my
archive purposes.
No,
just
we're not.
so
No,
we
can't. It's too extensive to share it on the screen right now.
Okay.
We'll get it out. We'll get it out in the morning. We'll get it out in the morning for sure.
Yeah, it's. I'll just show it to Danny. And then if she wants, she can either add to it the natural part of it, everything we've talked about here, and then mine is just food, first aid items, over-the-counter medicines. Like, I don't know about you guys, but my husband has a lot of antacid, and while I know baking soda can take care of that, I went to try to get baking soda because mine's expired, but I'm still going to keep it, right? But he'll need something like Tums or Rolaids, right?
Yep.
And sometimes we forget that we might not be able to just run out and get it. It's not something I normally stock in the house, but because we are getting, everything's closing down here in Ontario right now, they just announced the mall hours are shrinking. So when will the stores be next? And then when will the isolation come? We've seen them do it all over. It's just a matter of time here. So, so that list I've made is just to trigger you to say, oh, Rolaids, oh, maybe gravel for anti-nausea because I get vertigo a lot, and sometimes that gravel just helps me.
Yeah, exactly.
Imodium. Imodium, because we're going to be eating.
In case you run out of toilet paper, you might need the Imodium.
Right, we're in a situation maybe where we're not going to be eating our normal foods that we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
We may have to suffice with what we were able to get. I got cans of ravioli. I'd never eat that. But you know what?
Nick bought some too.
Right, so we're gonna have some stomach upset and stuff like that, right? So I'm just trying to think ahead, and then I added the list, like you know, you might want to get your duct tape, right? Go out and get some 3 mil plastic sheeting. So if someone does get sick, if this turns out that it is a virus, maybe not as bad as what they're saying, or like I said, you have somebody that's going through cancer treatment, or they've just had an organ transplant, like life goes on, and there's people that are very vulnerable, and we want to protect our vulnerable people.
Yep.
So, you know, you can put up your 3 mil plastic sheet just over a separate room in your house, and then you can bring them food or things like that.
Yeah.
So that list has stuff like that on there. You know, I already got yelled at in another group for posting it, so I'm just throwing up my hands. Don't yell at me. Either
no, we're not going to yell at you, and anyone who yells needs a slap in the head, seriously.
Okay.
Yeah, give it to us. We definitely want to hear what you have to say in both this regard and in the mental preparing regard.
Okay,
so yeah.
So since I'm still talking, I want to read this, okay?
Yep.
So a while ago, I talked to you guys about how fearful I was of everything. We're going back a year or so in the group, and I was always such a worrywart. I grew up worrying. My grandma and my mom both give me for Christmas one year a charm for my charm bracelet. Some of you might be too young to remember, but we used to have charm bracelets, and you could get silver charms. And both of them bought me a worry bird. So that tells you right there, it's been inherent in me for a long time, ever since I was a little girl. And I had agoraphobia, but I've overcome that. So that's like just phenomenal. I can do anything now. And this was as recent as maybe 6 months ago. I talked to you guys about that. So I no longer have agoraphobia. And I did it each day by decreasing my sensitivity. I think Maury suggested to me how to do that. And he'd say, you know, you guys help me anyways, and I've gotten rid of that. But being that I've always been so fearful, my husband bought me this book for Christmas 2 years ago. It's called The Gift of Fear. Now, I started reading it, and then I put it down. So what I'm going to read you is only from what I opened randomly one day on a page during this crisis that we're in. But the basis of the book, and it's hard to find the information because the man tells more stories, and then the valuable information is like that much, and then he'll tell another story, and then the information is that much. So he's using examples, so I can't read you. But the basis is about our intuition. He says we naturally have an intuition that our brains are busy doing the thing the brain needs to do. And quite often we filter out very critical information because that's what our brains do. You know, when you're looking for things, you might only be interested in seeing that red car. So I just had to wave my son away. He said supper time, but I want to finish what I'm doing. So he's talking about, you know, when you walk in the woods and all of a sudden the hair stands up on you and you don't know where it's come from, but that's that unconscious alert system that we have all inherently of us to warn us there's a panther behind us. Okay, so that's the premise of the book, that we all have this intuitive thing for fear and we need to stay safe. But this is what fear does to that intuition. I'm just going to read a little bit. I marked it with a Post-it. So he's talking here about, I'll read the little anecdote because that's how he explains his points. He says, not long ago, I was in an elevator with an elderly woman who was heading down to an underground parking garage after business hours. Her keys were protruding through her fingers to form a weapon, which also displayed her fear. She was afraid of me when I got into the elevator, as she is likely afraid of all men she encounters when she is in that vulnerable situation. The problem, however, is, and this is important, is that if one feels fear of all people all the time, there is no signal reserved for times when it's really needed. So basically, if we stay in a state of fear about this right now, we lose that ability our intuitive ability to read into this. So for example, I've been living a lot in my brain lately, and I'm susceptible to the programming, and I'm aware of it. Danny and I talk about this all the time, right? And then I step back from the programming. If the truth be known, if I were to go on my intuitive level, you know what? I'm still designing every day and selling things on my Amazon store and my Zazzle store. If there really were something to fear, I wouldn't be designing. I'd be running around like crazy. You know, I don't have an intuitive feel into this right now. It's all here. Just like Maury said, it's a mind disease. And I have to say that I'm guilty of getting mind disease, and I keep flip-flopping. So this was a really beautiful summary. He says right here, he says, precautions are constructive, whereas remaining in a state of fear is destructive. It can also lead to panic, and panic itself is usually more dangerous than the outcome we dread. And we've seen that right now, evidenced by everybody running around in a panic. So I hope this helps somebody. I know it helped me. So that's really all I wanted to say was like, you know, our intuition. But
can I say something while I'm out here?
Yeah, Dawn.
Hey, that was awesome, Nancy, by the way. You know, I'm a prepper. I'm like Danny. But I also recognize we're in a moment in time where, you know, we are creator beings. So if they can, like I said, buy us all into this, they take our power. So I think we ought to be like rejoicing through all this with a smile on our faces and like counteract this, because, you know, all of this is happening during tax time coming up, and, you know, we're on shutdown. We'll be shutting down in the next week. So I think that on a really bigger level, some really awesome things are happening. Obviously, we're all on the same team. I think that we use this to our advantage and stand in our truth, no matter what we see.
Mm-hmm. And there's a flip side to it. And what you just said about kind of like being in that positive place is like, okay, if schools shut down, you got 2 weeks to spend more time with your family. You spend more time with your family. Pull out that game of Twister that someone gave you for Christmas 3 years ago that you've never opened the box. Pull out the Monopoly. Teach your kids to play Rummy 500 or cribbage or fucking blackjack. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna go around.
Go paint a wall in your room. Like.
I'm gonna check on all my neighbors. I'm gonna go around, and I am going to be a light. I'm getting my nails done with all my Asian girl. These are like my sisters. I've been coming here for a decade, and it's pretty dead, but I don't give a shit.
Yep.
Okay, I have masks at home. I'm not wearing my mask. You know, they're wearing masks in there, but the point of the matter is, let's also add in, if you're in menopause and having hot flashes, I think you're good to go. So I'm feeling pretty good about that, because I still have hot flashes and nothing could live in my body.
Nothing can live in my body.
No. I have about 8 of those a day, and they're blasters. So good luck to any virus that wants to hang out in my body.
You're a riot, Dawn.
Anyway, I'm going back in.
Okay, hon. But it's the mental outlook, right? And this is one of those things. And because I've been on my crapped out, broken down laptop since we arrived here, right? Because I couldn't set up my big computer because it had to go into the shop for repairs. And I have no desk yet, which is why I'm sitting in the kitchen at the moment. Because I was on a limited device that would overheat every 20 minutes, so I'd have to turn it back off again. I was posting, and you're scrolling. You're just scrolling around what you can do, right? Doing whatever you can. And it's really, really funny because you find yourself, you get sucked into that social media stuff. You get sucked into that, the vibe that's coming off. Now, for me, most of mine, I never get into the fear. I never get into that. I get into the real, I'm pissed off and angry at people because I think they're all fucking stupid. Like I say, when I see people posting pictures of their shopping cart full of Pop-Tarts and Coca-Cola and God knows what else they've bought. What people with like 18 packs of toilet paper in their cart type thing. I'm just like, but you know what? It's like, we went out, we had to battle the grocery stores today. And it was really, it was a battle. But you know, you keep that smile on your face and you just sit there and go like, this is not going to be fun. There's going to be huge waiting lines for cash out, etc. Just fucking smile. And I chatted with the people in the lineups. We laughed, we joked. And you know what? It made everyone smile because I'm chatting with the cashier. There's like 3 ladies all standing back, all laughing along with us, even though they're not involved. But you lighten the load, right? You lighten the energy of it just by laughing, by smiling, being kind, being helpful, you know, this kind of thing. We got into a lineup the other day. I just did the corner shop, and we had a good basket full of stuff that we just bought. And some guy comes up behind us, and he's got like, you know, a thing of coffee and I don't know, a jug of milk. And we said, look, you go ahead of us. Go ahead. Like, we got way more than you. You go ahead. And he was like, oh, thank you so much. And he smiled, and then we started chatting. Those little acts of kindness, you keep yourself in that, to use that horrible term that I hate, that frequency, that vibration, if you will, it makes all the difference in the world. When you go and say, okay, you know, if you have to stand in a line up at the grocery store for an hour and a half, 2 hours, go there knowing that you're going to do it and just keep a smile on your face. Chit-chat.
Even just from a pure utility standpoint, that makes sense. I mean, because when you're in panic and fear and annoyingness, you don't think clearly. And when you don't think clearly, you can't react clearly. Versus when you're happy, you're calm, like,
yep,
intuition is sharp.
Yep, exactly. Now, the other thing I want to talk about.
Also,
sorry, what was that, Christina?
Yes, also I think we can use fear as, you know, to ask ourselves why. Like,
yes.
I can be afraid of taking my kids to the beach, but then I think, okay, can they swim? Yes, no. Are they going to swim too far away? I'm going to keep an eye. You know, you start thinking about this, and we can still enjoy a day at the beach. So now you feel, okay, I start to feel a bit of fearful. I start to feel something, why? Okay, I think I don't have enough food. Then just go ahead, easily get some food, get some frozen stuff, get your stuff. Oh, I think I need medication because, okay, get prepared now. But ask yourself why.
I agree. And that's one of those things. It's like exact same thing. When you find yourself in fear, or you find yourself in anger too, like that's the other flip side of that as well. Is why is that? Why is that? Why am I reacting that way? And then you can look at it and analyze it. Like, okay, is it that I'm really afraid that I'm going to have this terrible virus, or is that I'm afraid that I'm going to have to deal with the fucking lineups at the grocery store? Or is it, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can kind of, as it can be a very helpful self-analytical tool as well, if we can be honest with ourselves. And one of the other things I wanted to talk about, getting above and beyond the fucking virus, marigold, but above and beyond this marigold shit. Going back to what I was talking about at the beginning, it is very obvious that there's a lot more going on to this than what we're being told. It is very obvious that, hold on a second. It's very obvious that there's a lot more going on in the background. We have the stuff with the oil right now, besides the financial stock markets and the crypto markets. The crypto markets have just been completely shattered and taken a shit kicking, which proves the point of what I've always said, that Bitcoin is totally just another tool and has been directly linked to all the other stock markets because they plummeted just as much. Okay, you have things like with the oil. Isn't it just coincidentally interesting that Saudi decided to totally destroy the OPEC and drop the price of oil in the middle of all of this? I highly doubt that's coincidental. We have financial stuff, we have political stuff. We have cities and countries closing down. Are closing of borders the next thing that's going to happen? Could very well be. It could very well be one of the next steps. So regardless of it, there is something else going on. And we're not even going to get into that discussion. We'll talk about that this Wednesday night. This Wednesday night, we're going to get into some of that stuff because that's another whole fucking 2 hours, and we've already been at this for 2 hours. Regardless of what it is, being prepared mentally and emotionally and physically, obviously, is one of the best things that we can do. Now, unfortunately, I'm in the middle of, because I had to pack my computer up, I was in the middle of migrating websites to a brand new server over here in the UK. A bunch of the websites are down. I hopefully will have UnFuckers Unite back up and running, in which case we have the library in there. And it's just a reminder to everyone, the UnFuckers Unite library has got hundreds and hundreds of books in it on exactly these topics. On alternative health, on prepping, on alternative energy solutions, on everything imaginable.
There's awesome shit on there, and I just haven't gotten to get there. I have 3 books in the summer that are just fucking sitting here, and they're good books. I know they are.
Well, then read them, right? So read them. This is the whole thing. People need to get themselves into a place where you have knowledge. Like I said, if your work is shut down, etc. So decide that you're going to spend 2 hours a day and learn something. Learn how to make a bone broth. Learn how to make a loaf of bread from scratch. Learn how to go foraging for fresh herbs that are now starting to sprout up in a lot of places. Fresh dandelion greens, things like that. Go learn something. Use the time that you've just been given productively and learn something that will take a little piece of that fear and throw it away. Okay? I agree with Sheila, this is a huge opportunity. We have an opportunity to take some time, sleep, rest, take a bit of break. Do a hobby that you haven't done in years because you've been working your ass off and you haven't had time. Get a coloring book. Go color. Play with your kids. Go, I don't know, do something out in the backyard. Do a project inside the house that you've always wanted to do. Paint a room. Do that heavy cleaning in the backyard that's what we were doing today. Heavy fucking cleaning in the backyard. We have an opportunity. And yes, it's a forced thing. Or an enforced thing. But it doesn't have to be negative. Take it and turn it into a positive. Use the time wisely. Use the time in a way that is going to change the frequency of it. Change the frequency from being fear and anger and oh my God and panic into awesome. You know what? I'm going to do this today. I'm going to teach myself how to do that today. I'm going to go do this with the kids or with the grandkids, or I'm going to take my dog out in the backyard and teach him how to fetch a stick, whatever. There is an opportunity here, and we can turn the opportunity to our best advantage. And I highly recommend that learning some stuff, informing yourself is one of the best things that you can do right now. Take the time. So does anyone else, pardon me as I cough, does anyone else want to add anything to that? Because we're going to close down. It's 11 o'clock at night here, and I still have a horrible disaster in my
Thank you,
kitchen right
Anne,
now.
Brianna, everybody. That was good. You know, I'm young. That's sort of lost knowledge on my part.
Good stuff.
Hey, Danny, are you going to have a show tomorrow, or is this it for the week?
No, there won't be a show tomorrow for sure.
Okay, I wanted to verify that.
Yeah, no. We won't be, because I still have things to set up. Before I can do movies, I really do need to have the computer set up so it's not in the kitchen, etc. So, yeah. No, Wednesday we will have the show. Reminder that in North America, you guys have done daylight savings time switch over. In Europe, we haven't, which is why we had the confusion over the start times, because I'd forgotten that. So Wednesday night show will be at the usual time for us in Europe, but will be an hour later for you guys in North America. So instead of 4 p.m. Eastern, it'll be 5 p.m. Eastern. And then I think the following Sunday, does anyone know? Is it the last Sunday? It's the 29th that we switch over.
It's the 29th, Danny. I looked it up earlier when we couldn't figure out what time your show was at.
Everyone was all confused. No one was more confused than I was. So yeah. We're still crowdfunding. Unfortunately, a lot of the money that was supposed to go to other things has gone to things like food prep and that kind of thing. So yeah, we ended up spending a lot more in one chunk on putting in groceries and putting in the necessary things to be prepared than I expected to have to do right off the hop. Things like getting my computer fixed, which I hoped wouldn't have to do, but apparently I did the moment I plugged it in.
How are you liking the place?
It's gorgeous. I love England. I love England. Honestly, everyone in our family is so happy to be here. Everyone we've met has been so fantastic. I have no words. Every person we've had to call over, our car is dead, unfortunately. Nick got all the way to Birmingham from Malta, and we've got a fuel leak. So that's another expense, because if we can't replace the part, which we may not be able to replace the part because our car is a 2001 Isuzu Trooper, we're gonna have to buy a car. Yeah. So we're looking at pricing at really, really, really cheap old minivans right now, so we can get something we can afford. So it's been one of those things. But like crazy things though, it's like anything that has gone wrong has happened at perfect timing. So Nick always jokes that his guardian angel is an idiot, a drunken idiot. And he says that literally his guardian angel got him all the way from Malta, all the way up, all the way across, all the way, and they ran into all kinds of crazy shit, like all kinds of, maybe I'll talk about it on Wednesday. Crazy shit happened to them while they were driving. And got to Birmingham. He pulled into a gas station. And he went over a speed bump. The trailer hitched for the trailer broke and popped the fuel line leak. But it didn't happen in like Dover or in the middle of fucking France in the middle of the night. No, it didn't even happen on the road. It happened in the parking lot of a gas station. So we didn't even have to pull over. And it was like 20 minutes drive from the house where Gail was with me here. So he called us, said, I need a hammer right now because I got to fix the trailer hitch. And Gail got a hammer and went and drove it out to him 20 minutes away. So he says, like, he's got this guardian angel who's really, really good, but he's kind of a drunken idiot because he at least gets you there, gets you to that point. Like, the shit's still going to go down, but it's going to be convenient when it goes down. So yeah, it's been crazy. It's been crazy, but we've had such a phenomenal time since we've gotten here. Every single person we've met has been so nice, so kind, helpful. We literally went to the store today And it was like a bargain grocery store, like almost kind of like a dollar store type store. And the young guy on cash was like, "Oh, where are you from?" Everyone's always, "Where are you from?" We said, "Canada. We've just moved here." And he's like, "Do you need any help? Is there anything you need?" And he's literally holding up the line, saying to us, like, if you never need any, I'll be here till 3. So like, if you need to find out about what's local in the area, just come in and ask me. You don't have to stand in line. Just come on over. I'll help you out. Find out whatever you need. And that's been kind of across the board. Like, we've got a pub literally right next door. Nick walks into the pub to go check it out, right? Like, what's this pub like? And immediately they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" "You're from, we've never had a Canadian in here before. Here, have a beer. Do you want to play some pool? Hey, join our pool league." It across the board, every single person we've dealt with has been brilliant. From the mechanic we had to call for the car, to the plumber that we had to call to fix some of the plumbing in the house, to the computer guy who looked after my computer for me, came here, picked it up, took it to his shop, fixed it, and brought it back to me 24 hours later. Double dog dare you to find someone to be able to do that anywhere else, I'm telling you, for 60 quid. It's been fantastic, like just fantastic. The entire experience has been phenomenal, and I'm sorry, and I'm going to say this, and people will get bitchy at me, but I've heard so much shit from the Brits being like, "Why are you coming here? Oh my God, you're coming to the belly of the beast. Oh, it sucks, blah, 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 blah." You have no fucking clue what you have. I double dog dare you to go into Canada, America, Australia, Malta, and do the shit that you do here every day without any fucking problems. Yes, the British government's corrupt. So's every other government. They're all equally fucking corrupt. They're all equally disgusting in that way. But I'm telling you, shit here is so much easier to accomplish, so much easier to do, and so much fucking cheaper than Canada, America, especially fucking Malta or anywhere else in Europe. It's amazing. So, yes, to all my British friends out there, you don't really know what you've got. And I've had a couple of British friends who moved away and then come back home a few years later who kind of been, oh, what's this? Oh, yeah, maybe we will come back home. So, yeah, don't come to the U.S. right now. Exactly, Lee.
Danny, before you go, oh, sorry, I just wanted to add more prep stuff, but if you want to keep on that thread, I'll let the other people speak and then I'll jump in.
Whatever, doesn't matter. We're done. I was just trying to, yes, Gabrielle, this will be uploaded to YouTube tomorrow morning. So anyone who missed the first part of it will catch the last end of it.
Okay, so I just wanted to point out that I'm wearing my reading glasses. Guess why? Because I broke my regular glasses. So in the thread of prepping, okay, if you've got teeth problems, go to your dentist in the next week and see if you can get those fillings that you've been putting off. Or go get a backup pair of glasses, things that you normally rely on, if you can, just because I think it's happening fast. Like for us in Canada, it was like overnight, right? It was on Wednesday at 4 o'clock, they said schools are closed. And then the next day, everything fell after that. Everything's closed. Every bloody thing's closed. Stores are open. Services are still available. But when they get to the point where they do their isolation, for whatever reason, they're rolling out this agenda. We all know that they're rolling out something. We just don't know what it is, but we will be trapped in it. So just if you rely on glasses like me, go out and get a backup pair of glasses. Maybe
a couple extra pairs of contact lenses.
Yeah, just and if you smoke, like I smoke, I went and bought 3 cartons of cigarettes. If you smoke cannabis, get your weed. If you rely on CBD oil, get your CBD oil. Like Brianna's got it. She wants chips and I want chips. I like my comfort foods too, right?
Yep.
So, and then we'll build a blanket fort in the living room and have a party. You know what's the beautiful thing about this is we still have this way to communicate with each other. I hope they don't throttle the internet, because this will help us keep our sanity when we all start to get isolated.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I say something onto that about the internet?
Yeah.
Bell have said that they're waiving overage fees. And I take it that all the ISPs will be doing that for those who don't have the unlimited plan.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Now, I mean, the interesting thing is going to be, and I've heard rumblings of this in the States and in England, that because students are not going to school, they're going to be doing a lot of stuff, or they're supposed to be, doing a lot of studying online. And there's been a few that are saying that the internet, you will not be cut off. Mutterings in the background that they will keep you, even if you don't pay your internet bill, that they may keep you online. And they're going to have to. I mean, if people can't work, therefore they can't, not money coming in, they can't pay their bill, yet their kids are at home and need to get their schooling done. So there's some interesting stuff going on here.
I think we maybe. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, I'm just grateful we have a group like this, filled with people like this who've done the work, because I'm like, coronavirus scares you? just wait till you look down the rabbit hole of pure horror, you know? like
exactly.
It's very mentally stabilizing.
I mean, does anybody know anybody yet that has coronavirus?
Nope.
No, and I know that a billion people that have friends, much more than Danny, don't know anybody either. It's not like we were all popped here without kin.
Yeah. Now, I do know people that have died of the flu. That was the question that was posed in the UU room a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
My dad died of the flu. My aunt died of the flu, and my cousin died of the flu. But they didn't die of the flu. Let me correct that. They died from the interstitial pneumonia, or whatever you call it. It's complications from the flu.
Right.
So, this could be just a really bad flu year. And so, incidentally,
but it's not. The numbers for the flu deaths are down this year.
See, that's another thing, too, about numbers. We're going to talk numbers, and we're going to say, no, the coronavirus isn't real, whatever. And then we come out and say, no, please don't get angry with me. I'm just making a comparison. And they say, yes, but these many people died of the flu. Have we ever thought that those numbers could be fake, too?
Yep.
Because they want to promote vaccines.
Yep.
So, when you take facts from government sources, we have to really consider whether or not those are actual true statistics. Statistics can say anything they want. When I went to college for electronics, I took something called engineering electrical electronics, and you could divide yourself into 3 different disciplines. You could take industrial electronics I did. You could take communications, or you could take computer in your 3rd year. In the 3rd year, there was 2 students that took computer. One of them failed and one of them passed. And then the next year, when the college published the failure rate of the course for computer, they registered it as a 50% failure rate, but there was only 2 students in the course.
Yep.
So we have to remember how they manipulate the numbers, right? So just pointing it out. Just
any numbers can be manipulated, and we know this. They always manipulate to whatever's to the benefit of whatever makes them money, right?
Danny, don't you think that we could get a new financial system out of this deal?
That'd be cool.
Hey,
I heard they're going to dump the Fed's going down to 0 right now, right? That all the debt they put on us, they can dump backwards onto them. So I think this is going to be an interesting play out, because let's face it, you guys, there was no way this financial system was going to make it.
Well, this is what I've been saying since September, right? I've been talking about this hardcore since September, that all the moves that are being made by the Fed and the central banks, etc., are Band-Aid moves. They're plaster moves. They don't fix the system. They don't even come close to fixing the system. It's imaginary that it could fix the system, and it was very obvious that they were just putting a piece of duct tape over the leak in the hopes of making it last just that little bit longer, which is exactly what they've been doing, right? This is what they've been fucking doing. And I've been asking the questions, what do they know is coming? What do they know is coming? Hold on.
Somebody knows. I'm sorry.
That's okay, but what do they know is coming? Because everything that they have been doing has been not a fix, not even remotely a fix. No. You can't keep breaking your own fucking laws, which is what the Federal Reserve has been doing. They've been breaking their own monetary laws, but with what they're doing. It's outright illegal what they've been doing with money. So what do they know is coming? And then we have this shit. And this is why I say this is not about a virus. You can't do shit in September because you forecasted that 6 months later you're going to have a virus outbreak. It doesn't work that way. Go ahead, Zero.
Not only that, though, you know something's coming when record numbers of CEOs all left in January. Yep. 219 major CEOs left. Yep. Like they're just jumping ship. It's obvious. Like when all the major CEOs are leaving, you know something's down the line.
Yeah. Hey, these celebrities,
we're losing you, Dawn.
And what you say about OPEC, like OPEC being demolished, like there's something that's going on here that really like, is this what the reset? Because I've been hearing this since I became an enlightened being. This is what I've been hearing about mass arrest, new financial system. I've been hearing about this, and I poo-pooed it now and then, but now I'm starting to freaking believe.
Well, I don't believe because I don't believe fucking jack shit, right? Be live.
You have to admit, though, whatever they're rolling out, they're doing it fast. Like
they're doing it very fast.
I mean, like Maury mentioned, it's like they're on schedule, and I can see that with Canada because there's no community spread yet. So why did they shut down everything? They're saying they're in the delay stage, or still in the what do you call it?
Isolation stage.
Yeah, or something. They have 4 stages, right? So I'm thinking, okay, so they've shut everything bloody down, like just like that, in the blink of an eye, with 200 cases. Like, come on, what's going on?
And how about Bill Gates stepping down?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's huge. Yep. That is so fucking huge.
See, that's what I was saying. These celebrities and they're ones claiming they're sick. They're full of shit.
Oh, I think that they're doing a run or two. No, Dawn, I agree. I think all these guys that are like saying, "Oh, I have coronavirus," that's just an excuse for them to disappear from the public's eye.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yep.
They're all full of shit.
Or to help prop up the bullshit theory that they've pitched.
No, there's so much going on. And as I said, we're not going to get into it tonight. We will get into it Wednesday night a lot more. One of the things I'm looking at, it always feels to me, whenever my gut feeling on these things is that they, the quintessential they, are scrambling. They, how can I say this properly? Doesn't feel so much as something they are doing, or let's say it's not necessarily a timeline they wanted, it's a timeline that's been put onto them. They are in reaction mode, not action. That's what it feels like to me. It doesn't feel like it's something that's coming from them. It's that they are reacting to something that they know is happening.
And maybe it's maybe all this hibernating and shit is to keep people off the street, to stay out of the fucking way.
Yeah, and you know what? This is the things that you have to look at too. That could very well be part of it. It could be the same thing. If people are afraid of a virus, and that's why the virus is very, very convenient. It's not just, shut down because people are going to stay at home in their houses because they're afraid of getting sick. I don't want to catch it. So you can shut down the schools, you can shut down businesses, you can shut down people meeting up. And yeah, I get it. There's the flip side of that. All political protests have come to a screaming halt. Yes, they have. But so is the NBA. And if you want to talk about them losing a fuck ton of money, the NBA shutting down for the rest of the season? That's huge. Football, I believe in England, they've stopped all football matches.
The NHL has stopped here as well, right?
The NHL has stopped. These are their money. This is their money.
Yeah, this is big.
So they close all these things down. It gets everybody contained within their homes and prepping. So, like I say, what do they know is coming?
It's almost like the whole virus scenario was like started too late. like all this is on some schedule. I'm like, oh shoot, like.
Okay, but here's the thing.
More serious. Quick.
If you remember, we talked about this. Oh God, would have been. When did FEMA come out and make the recommendation? And it wasn't FEMA. FEMA was one of them. It was somebody. I don't know what they call them in the States. In everywhere else, we have ministers. But it was like the person in charge of disaster relief.
They have 6 months storage.
Exactly. Said Americans are not prepared for a natural disaster. People should have 6 months storage. Now that was
fast to hear it.
Astounding when they came out and said that publicly. And I said, that's a little bit of transparency for you. They know something is coming. And they've started the whispers. People should be prepared. People should be prepared.
And Trump did say there's a storm coming.
Yeah, I don't give jack shit what Trump says. You know.
I know. Hey, I'm not saying I'm a big Trump supporter. but just like Hollywood, they tell us.
Yeah.
Tell us what's coming.
They give us the hints. The hints have been out there. No, I mean we've had an ongoing joke in our house that this is the zombie virus. But it's not the zombie virus as in like I Am Legend or Resident Evil or Zombieland. It's the zombie virus of the zombies, i.e. the general public, going up and buying up all the toilet paper and the bar soap and Pop-Tarts. That's the zombie aspect of it, right? I mean, you joke and say, 2011, NASA came out with the Zombie Emergency Preparedness Campaign. And I pulled it up 2 weeks ago when we were first joking about the whole we're living out Resident Evil now. If you go through and read, go look it up, NASA's Zombie Preparedness Campaign. It's fucking hysterical. But is that what they were telling us? Like, these hints have been coming out.
And
drop.
Their tricks too, because I don't know if you guys remember the movie Close Encounters, but you remember they blocked off the whole area and told everybody it was like a radiation alert?
Exactly. It's the shit they do all the time. I mean, how many movies have actually done that? We've seen this. Men in Black. Like literally, I can't even list them all. The amount of movies where the government comes in and says, "Oh yeah, this is a quarantine zone because there was a natural gas leak, so everyone has to stay in their houses and close the windows." When in fact it's like a crashed alien ship. Like this is, again, Hollywood has played this scenario out over and over and over. So guess what? Is this the real life scenario again? Well, it's a terrible pandemic. You're gonna cough and get a fever. Oh my God, we better shut down the school because there's one person who's sick.
You know,
hey, Danny,
the world is a stage.
Yeah.
Danny, can I make a couple of points? Number one, thank you. Number one, I posted a link to a video from an old Outer Limits episode from 1964.
Yep.
That in the end, that's exactly what they said, what you just said about how they would handle it. Now, that 64 is a long-ass time ago. It was in black and white. That's how long ago it was. The other thing is, Wednesday is 4 days away. I guarantee you, without knowing what, you'll know more. We'll all know more than we do right now.
Yep.
And we'll have everything, everything we've talked about or you've talked about, plus there's going to be 4 more days of information, and some of it may be shocking, I don't know, or it may just be more escalation along the lines that we're talking. But don't be surprised, come Wednesday, there's going to be something in the conversation that wasn't in the conversation today.
Well, this is it. Like, I keep getting little pieces of information. I get little pieces. People send me little bits, like a little bit of the information about the shipping companies, that all these ships are on the sea are fucking empty. They're just doing their routes. Okay? We get little bits of information. Now, one of the other pieces that came through was a friend of mine having dinner with a friend of hers who's a paramedic. And the paramedic told her that they had already been told that this was a test to prepare for the real thing. Now, but the real thing, you're going to tell a paramedic the real thing, as in they were going to assume it's a virus, but it doesn't need to be. It could be a financial collapse. It could be something that we can't even fathom yet. Could be the fucking aliens coming and showing up on the White House lawn. Doesn't matter.
Danny.
The preparation's the same. Yeah, hi Igor, how are you?
I'm good. If I may just have 2 minutes maximum, yes. I'll try to be brief. Now, you may remember I mentioned about a month ago about this Russian sinologist, the China scholar, who is probably one of the best in the world, specialist on China. Now, I've heard his recent speech, his recent presentation today, and I've heard a lot of other news from Russia, and I'm in Cape Town. Most people won't know where I am now, but I'm in Cape Town in South Africa, and it's very calm here, and I see that the government here is absolutely firm on not spreading the panic, on preventing the panic. It's very calm. The shops are full. People are very calm. Now, as for Russia, today, was it yesterday? Yesterday, the so-called Putin's press secretary, president's press secretary, raised an issue of canceling the Victory Day parade on 9th of May, which is unprecedented for Russia, obviously. It's like a sacred. It's the foundation of the current regime and of the regimes before. And so for the first time since 1945, they're prepared to cancel the Victory Day parade. Right, but there is more going on. I would like to maybe take 5 or 7 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes on Wednesday, if I could mention this, talk about this, talk more about this. But I mentioned Solomon Plan about a month ago in EU, so which is basically the design reflected in the apocalypses. Yeah, so. What I'm saying, it doesn't have to happen, and this Russian sinologist Devyatov is also saying this is what was conceived and had been conceived and is a plan of the designer. He calls that entity designer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and according to this plan, everything should go in precise narrative of the apocalypses. Mm-hmm. I've forgotten the English name of this narrator. The Book of Revelation, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's all very close. He's talking about the fact, he's mentioned the fact that the US is deploying troops in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and Poland. And they're preparing for full deployment in June, right? And meanwhile, he's mentioning the development in the Middle East, and the Russian borders through Central Asia and Russian Caucasus will be penetrated. Russia would be penetrated, according to this plan, to Volga River, which is more or less central Russia. But I can talk more about it if you want.
On Wednesday, absolutely.
Just one thing though, about the date. We all we've never liked dates. We've always felt it's ridiculous, and quite rightly so. Meanwhile, for what I can see, it's different now, and it could well be, and there are justifications, like explanations, proper explanations for this. It looks like 20th of March is the date for the event which is going to dissolve and collapse.
Well, it's funny because that date keeps coming up year after year after year. For some reason, that Beware the Ides of March, or that kind of that mid-March just keeps coming up, and I don't know why, but it does. It repeatedly, almost every year, that time frame of mid-March keeps coming up for multiple different things.
Can I just say one last thing? It's very much related to the perception of time as not just a linear time, obviously, but as a linear time, a point in linear time, the cyclical time, and the phase. And it's all coming together on the 20th of March this year, 2020. That's all I wanted to say for now. Yeah.
That's 6 days from now. So there we go. We'll see what happens.
We have time. And it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I know.
Well, you know what? This is, I say, we're just saying in the chat, and I will post the chat. Someone remind me, please send me a message on Messenger to remind me to post the chat, because we've had so much good information in the chat tonight as well. My gut let me rephrase. When I'm in my here and not my here, I don't ever get that negative feeling.
Me either.
Take that as you will, right?
Me too.
There's excitement, there's anticipation, there's adrenaline, but it doesn't come with fear.
It feels okay.
Any fear that is coming with it is coming from external. It's coming from things like being inundated with fucking bullshit ridiculousness on Facebook or Twitter, or, right? It's the people who are around you who are like in your ear. That brings that in. But when I rest and when I nothing ever negative comes up to me. Like, that's not what I feel. So take that for what it's worth, right?
Trust that, Danny. Trust that,
Exactly.
Danny. You're not the only one that is feeling that.
Yep.
I just had a little exchange with Jane in the chat on that very subject.
Exactly.
And I know that there's more than most of us are in this room also feel that too. And I want to re-emphasize that to everybody. Fucking trust it, because that's your inner knowing, your intuition, or however you want to call it, along those lines. And it don't lie.
Yep.
It doesn't lie.
It almost gives me goosebumps. You know, Danny, we've been looking at this for a long time.
Long time, chick.
And you know what? I think we're finally seeing some of it come to fruition.
Listen, I hope. I you know me, when every time anyone brings up all this kind of financial reset, Nasara, fucking Nasara shit coming out again today. All of this stuff, I literally turn around and go, heard all about it in 2011, 2012, 2013.
Hold my
exact same fucking shit to the details, right down to the same details.
Oh yeah.
But maybe it's time. I don't know. I don't know.
To add a bit of humor to the mix, I had a realization the other day. Here I was doing my usual judging the absurdly wealthy 1%, like I like to do. And then it occurred to me, I was like, oh, seeing how everybody is reacting so crazily, I almost can't blame the 1% for not wanting to save humanity, Oh,
no. Zero, I have had those moments. Let me tell you. I've had a lot of those moments in the last couple of months of going, maybe the 1% have it right. Maybe we need to lose like at least 50% of these people and not let them breathe, because Idiocracy is a fucking documentary. That's the way we're going. I think that's going to be the very first movie we're all going to watch. The first movie night, we're all going to sit down and watch Idiocracy together. Just for the shits and giggles.
I've never seen it.
For me, when I was young, I don't know why I always knew this, but I felt this deep inside. I always knew those in power were not going to be able to do what they wanted to do.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been seeing it for the past several years now. Like we've been seeing this. Like, it's stupefying, crazy to see, you know, them doing these fake shootings, but not making, you know, the bodies look right, you know, like blood being around them, or like, and yeah, so it's just an awesome time to be. And what I find funny is I talk to open people who are open about, you know, one thing or two things, but when I bring this up, they're like, no, that could never happen. Oh, they're smarter. They're the 1%. They'll get what they want. Then I'm like to myself, no, I'm sorry. I don't see it. I've been looking at this stuff for like 3-4 years now, and
I love that quote. It's like, all we gotta do is all stand up, and the 1% can't do anything. I'm like, okay, get 20 people to agree where to go to dinner, then talk to me.
Exactly. Anyway, I'm gonna mute. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, I'm gonna have to call an end here because we've been doing this like over 2.5 hours now, and I still haven't even put dinner away, and it's 11:30 at night. Wednesday night, almost same bat time for all of us in Europe and everywhere else, but in North America, it's going to be an hour later. So remember, it'll be 5 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday night, not 4 p.m.
I don't think we need to have a meeting tomorrow. I think we did good today. I mean, honest to God, I think we covered a lot. What else is there to talk about?
I think we covered a lot.
It's almost as if we needed this.
Yeah, strange.
That's why I was doing it.
Literally, I was chomping at the bit on Monday and Tuesday and just going like, but there was no, on the laptop, there was no way. There was no possible way of doing it. And unless I got Zoom on my phone, that would have been, me technologically, retarded. It would have made me nuts trying to hold the phone up or even propping it up, and no. So got the computer fixed. It's back up and running. So now we should be back on schedule again. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, which, could come up. Anyways, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys all. I love you all. I missed you guys all lots and lots. And I will see you all on Wednesday. Okay?